Hello aspirants, good evening. Welcome to PDF for Exams YouTube channel. This is day 44. We are learning environment and in this video is all about nutrient cycle. So in this particular video we will be learning about what is this nutrient cycle, how many types of nutrient cycles are there, and we'll study each of them in detail. Okay, so let's begin the video and see what nutrient cycle actually means. So as I always say, if you know the little meaning of the term which is given, you'll come to know the definition of it. So over here we have two terms. One is nutrient and the other term is cycle. So you might have heard in various advertisement about nutrients like the energy drinks, energy food. In every energy drink or every food, these nutrients are present. Why these nutrients are present? Because these nutrients are very vital element which provide nourishment, which are essential for maintenance and life for growth. Okay, so every element or anything that is important for our growth would be called as nutrient. And the second term is cycle, not the one which we ride, our bicycle, but the concept is same, why the name is given to this riding cycle as bicycle. So cycle simply means a series of events that regularly repeats in same order. This is the simplest definition of a cycle. For example, if we take our daily life, you wake up in the morning either between 5 or 6 in the morning. After that you take your breakfast, then your lunch, then your evening snacks, then you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning. In meantime you have your some specific works, you study, so it depends upon the slots which in what you have divided. Okay, so it's depend on individual to individual, but the common phenomenon over here is getting up in the morning, taking your breakfast, lunch, then evening and sleeping and waking up at the morning. So you can see a cycle is being formed and the period of the cycle is almost 24 hours. So this cycle completes within 24 hours and it's common for almost everyone, every human being, I will say. And this is the simplest form of cycle. There are other examples of cycle. I'm not saying that every cycle will complete in 24 hours. It depends upon the type of cycle. Some cycle may complete within 1 hour, some cycle completes within 2 days, 3 days, few takes 1 month, few takes years, and few takes thousands of years to complete a cycle. But still they will be termed as cycle since the action is being repeated in cyclical manner or repeated manner. Okay, so the movement of nutrients in cyclic manner from biotic and abiotic component would be called as nitrogen or nutrient cycle. Now starting with the first concept, that is geochemical or biogeochemical cycle. What is this biogeochemical cycles? So in biodiversity or ecology and environment, we have seen that our biodiversity consists of few biotic components and abiotic components, and there is movement of these nutrients from biotic to abiotic components and in their ecosystem. So the cycle path of the element from abiotic system to biotic system and back to biotic system would be called as biochemical cycles. Fine. Now what are these chemical elements? So these chemical elements include all the essential elements of life which tend to circulate in biosphere in characteristic path from environment to organism and then back to environment. So over here we can, if you want to draw a diagram for nutrient cycle, so environment, then it comes to after environment it comes to an organism, any organism it may be, and after that it goes back to environment. So environment to an organism, organism to environment. So this keeps on repeating, and that's why it is called as biogeochemical cycle or a nutrient cycle. Fine. Now again, this movement of these chemical element, it doesn't move only through biotic components, but it moves through biotic as well as abiotic components of ecosystem, and these elements are being recycling in the process of these movement. And sometime what happen, the elements, they may be placed for longer duration for recycling, and those places where these elements are saved would be called as sinks. So as you can see over here, we have seen the simplest cycle. So it's not that directly from environment all the nutrients will go to environment, sorry, these organism and then back to environment. So if we just draw a more complex diagram over here, so some nutrients are present in environment, and after that it may go to a plant, from plant it may go to a bigger plant, or directly to an animal, from animal to a bigger animal, from bigger animal to humans, and then humans to environment. You can see a complex path has been taken, and from over here from human beings to decomposer. So sometime what happened at some station, so these are the stoppage, you can say these are the stoppage of all the nutrients through which the nutrients flow. So at some stoppage these nutrients might accumulate themselves in order to recycle themselves, and those places where they accumulate are called as sinks. Fine. And of course moving, the nutrient is moving from one place to another place, so some of the energy would be dissipated. As you know, if you have to go or if you have to walk for 10 kilometers, if you have to visit from one point to another point, and the distance between two of these points are 10 kilometers, and if you don't have any vehicle, if you have to walk, what you will lose? You will lose some of your energy. Even if you go use your vehicle, then also you will lose some of your energy by driving those vehicles. So at the end, some of the energy would be dissipated while transportation of these nutrients. Okay. Now further, these biochemical cycle, why they are named as biochemical cycle? Because these cycles go through these biological, geological and chemical elements through earth and atmosphere. That's why they are named as biogeochemical cycles. And these biogeochemical cycles are of two types. One is gaseous cycle, other is sedimentary. And under gaseous cycle we have nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle, carbon and water cycle. And under sedimentary we have phosphorus and sulfur cycle. So we are going to study each of them in detail. Fine. So starting with carbon cycle. What is carbon? We know carbon is present everywhere, and all the organic compound. Every organic compound consists of some or the other carbon compound. And why and how do they consist? So we know carbon dioxide, which is very important gas, you can say, in our environment, and we have carbon. With this complete gas is called carbon dioxide, but in this we have two gases, one is carbon and the other is oxygen. Okay, so this carbon becomes very essential element of all organic compound. Apart from organic compound, we have carbon in even graphites. You might have heard about graphite. This is the pencil lead which you use to write. Diamonds, even diamonds are made up of these carbon, and almost every organic compounds are made of carbon. Because of that very purpose, you might have heard about carbon dating. Carbon dating is used for finding the age, or you can say the time from which they exist of any element or matter. So these carbon datings are only used because carbons are found everywhere in every organic compound. Okay, and it is a very important greenhouse gas. What does this greenhouse gases do? They trap the infrared radiation, or you can say the heat radiation in the atmosphere. How do they trap? See, this is Earth's surface. From sun comes in solar radiation. They get striked. Sometimes they get strike. Some of the heat is absorbed by all the gases present in atmosphere. So these are the greenhouse gases which absorb this heat and helps to maintain the temperature of Earth's surface. Okay, and when these greenhouse gases are in excess or when they exceed, global warming start happening, or you can say the average temperature of Earth starts increasing. That tends to global warming. Okay, and these carbons are even play very crucial role in weathering of rocks, and these carbons are also source of food for the plants. So these are very important components everywhere and present each and everywhere on the Earth's surface. If we talk about the steps which are consisted in carbon cycle, so you can either understand by this diagram, or we'll just read out the sentences and we'll try to match the sentences with this diagram. So carbon enters atmosphere as carbon dioxide from respiration and consumption. From where does this carbon dioxide come, or it is emitted? So as we know, we humans or all animals, we consume oxygen, and in the respiration process we exhale carbon dioxide, and even in combustion also carbon dioxide gases are released in atmosphere. And once they are released in atmosphere, they are absorbed by producers. What are producers? Producers are the plants which use these carbon dioxide and sunlight to make their carbohydrate, or you can say their food, and they release oxygen, which is very important gas for all the human beings and animals for their survival. Okay, and various animals feed on these plants, and when they feed on these plants which are using carbon components or carbon dioxide to make their food, these carbon gets further moved into the animal, and when these animals die or these animals are further consumed by humans, then again carbon moves from these plants or animals, and eventually when those plants or human die, the decomposers start acting on those components, and those carbons are returned back to the atmosphere or environment, you can say. So this is the entire cycle of carbon. If we try to understand from the diagram, so you can see carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and those are consumed by organic compounds and plants, and once they are consumed by organic plants and compounds, so these organic plants or compound may consume these plants. And over here, so you can say one more relation is given over here, that means these organic compounds, that means animals, produce carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Further, these animals are being consumed, or you can say decomposed by decomposers, and these are converted or sent back to the atmosphere, and this keeps on going. And over here we have carbonates in water, that means there are a few carbons which are present in water also, which are present in limestone, coal, petroleum. So these are the presence of carbon in other materials or elements. Now, if we talk about the four reservoirs, what do we mean by reservoirs? So, if you know about the dams, you might be knowing about the reservoir. A reservoir means the area where we can store the things. So, in case of this carbon, there would be carbon stored in these reservoir. So, the reservoir, you can say the maximum amount of carbon present are the atmosphere, terrestrial biosphere that consists of living and non-living organic material, the ocean, again it consists of aquatic life, and the sediments like fossil fuels and all where carbon is present. Okay, so this is all about carbon cycle. Next important and very simplest cycle I will say, and you might be studying this cycle right from the beginning of when you started studying your science subject. This is hydrological cycle, or else in simple terms it is also called as water cycle. So in water cycle, what will happen? Water will change its states from one state to another state. We know matter has three states: solid, liquid, and gas. These are the three stages or three matters of any component or any matter. And if we understand the molecular, if we understand this scientifically, how and why to change their forms, and what are the causes of their change in form, then we will easily understand what is this hydrological cycle. So according to science, solid, liquid and gases, there is molecular arrangement, you can say. So every element or every matter is made of either atom, molecules, and living organisms are made of cells and tissues. So in case of matter, we have molecular arrangement in every matter. If in case of solid, what will happen, these molecules will be very closely packed, and since they are very closely packed, they are very hard in nature. Their characteristics would be different from each other. In case of liquid, what will happen, the molecular packet would be little farther away from each other, so they can move. You can see all the liquids like water, kerosene, petroleum, they have tendency to move in direction where they get slow. And last is gaseous. So gas, their intermolecular spacing are huge and they can flow anywhere. Fine. So these are three forms of matter. So over here the matter is water. Water too has the same form. Like in solid form, water would be called as ice. In liquid form, it is obviously called water, and in gaseous, it would be called as water vapor. Okay, now let's try to understand how this hydrological cycle happens. So hydrological cycle, what happens? It starts with evaporation. Like we have huge amount of water body present in Earth's surface, like oceans, seas, rivers. So with the process of evaporation, what happens? Evaporation, that means converting liquid into gaseous form by providing heat. So sunlight is there, provide heats on the water surface, and due to appliance of temperature, the molecular bondage starts breaking and it converts into gaseous. And when it converts into gaseous, it moves into atmosphere, and further when the temperature reduces, it get condensed in form of clouds, or you can say snow or ice, and further it precipitates in form of rain. Rain is in form of liquid. So over here you can say the state of this matter is changing from liquid to gas, gas to solid, and solid to again liquid. So this keeps on repeating, and that's why it is called as hydrological cycle. So we have seen the process of evaporation from where water get converted from liquid to gaseous, and the other places or the other places from where this evaporation or conversion of one state to another, that is liquid to gaseous, take place is transpiration. Transpiration, in this case, transpiration means the water vapor which are discharged from plant leaves during photosynthesis would be called as transpiration. Sublimation is a concept in which the format of the material changes from one to third stage. For example, we have three stages. So what will happen? It will change its form from one to the third stage, skipping the middle one. So this would be called as sublimation. So in this case, snow and ice, they directly convert into water vapor without turning into liquid, and hence it is called as sublimation process. Next is condensation. Condensation means solidifying of the gases into rock form, or you can say solid form. That would be called as condensation, and again it will precipitate in the form of rain. So precipitation is given here. So this completes the water cycle, and in between there are a few other concepts that you need to know, like infiltration and percolation. So the difference between infiltration and percolation is that infiltration means the pouring of water, you can say the movement of water downwards. For example, if we have a land surface, water has precipitated in form of rain, and then when this water moves below the earth's surface from some cracks, there are several cracks in the earth's surface. When these move through these cracks underwater and reaches the water table or underground water, this would be called as infiltration. Whereas in percolation, what happens? Soils have several pores, very small pores, and when this water flows through these pores and reaches this water, underground water, this we call as percolation. So percolation would be very slow process in case of infiltration. Okay, next is groundwater flow. And groundwater we know very well. What are groundwater? We have water present underground which are used for a domestic purpose, and these are even source of your lakes and river. Okay, so that is groundwater. So this completes our hydrological or water cycle. Next important cycle that you should know is nitrogen cycle. Again, this nitrogen is very important element, you can say, a very important gas which is present in environment, and even 78% of gas which are present in atmosphere is nitrogen. And this nitrogen is very important and very essential component, you can say, as it is component of protein. And protein, you know, protein is very important for all kind of living organism, including human. Growth of human being or any kind of organism dependent upon protein. And again, this nitrogen is needed for DNA and RNA. So we know deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid. So these are very important components in a body, basic component, the smallest component of our body, these DNA and RNA. So what does this DNA and RNA do? So these are the scientific terms. We're not going to discuss in detail over here. We'll discuss during study of science and technology. But these protein are part of these DNA and RNA, which are very crucial for evolution or growth of human being. Apart from this, as I said, 78% of volume of atmosphere is nitrogen, and these nitrogen are even used by several plants for their growth. And there are several processes how these nitrogen are converted from one form to another form and move into a cycle in an atmosphere or environment. So the very first term which we need to understand and study over here is nitrogen fixation. So nitrogen fixation means the conversion of the nitrogen which is present in atmosphere into usable nitrogen which can be biologically used by plants. Okay, so how it happens? So nitrogen enters living world by way of bacteria and other single cell called prokaryotons, which convert atmospheric nitrogen into biologically usable forms in process called nitrogen fixation. Okay, and this process, nitrogen fixation doesn't happen in one step. It takes several steps for conversion of this atmospheric nitrogen into biological usable nitrogen or biologically usable form. Okay, so there are several organisms. They convert this nitrogen N2 into ammonia, that is NH3, and after this NH3 is converted or formed, it converts NH3 into usable or biological nitrogen which are used by plants. Okay, so further we can see there are several steps, as I said, ammonification and nitrification. So these are the steps which are involved for conversion of nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, into usable biological nitrogen. So ammonification, as I said, ammonia means NH3, and in this we can say there are 3 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of nitrogen. So atmospheric nitrogen is present in 2 molecules of nitrogen. So over here what happened? Under anaerobic condition means there is no oxygen. Certain reaction takes place in soil, or you can say these microorganisms consumes this nitrogen, and certain reaction takes place in absence of oxygen, and due to which ammonia is formed. And these N2 converts into ammonia. Okay, and again further this ammonia is converted into nitrate in the presence of bacteria in the soil, which we call as and then this complete process is called as nitrification. Last term in this is denitrification. Denitrification means that converts nitrogen nitrates into nitrogen gas. Again, now I just said it has to be in form of cycle. So in form of cycle, N2 is converted into ammonia, ammonia is converted into nitrate, and this nitrate is converted into N2 gas. So this is a complete cycle which takes place. So it is a process in which nitrate converts into nitrogen gas, and it's removed the bioavailable nitrogen and returning into the atmosphere. Fine. And this nitrogen are also considered as greenhouse gases, and it reacts with ozone and it contributes to air pollution also. So this is one of the harmful gases also if it reacts with ozone. Fine. So here we can see the diagram of nitrogen cycle. What happens, you can understand very well. So as I said, there are certain amount of nitrogen present in atmosphere. It is consumed by these bacteria and all, like nodules and legumes, and convert into biological use for soils and plants and animals, and the process in which it converts into ammonia, then nitrate, and again these nitrates are converted denitrifying bacteria, which is converted further into nitrogen. So this is all about the nitrogen cycle. Next kind of cycle is oxygen cycle. So oxygen is the second most important, or you can say in volume it is the second most abundant gas present in atmosphere, and it is very important for survival of all living beings on the earth, like all the animals and human beings, which has to respirate and consume oxygen. For respiration, oxygen is required. 21% of air present in atmosphere is oxygen, and as I said, it is most common element in human body, and oxygen is also help or used in combustion, decomposition and oxidation. Okay, Now in oxygen, the main driving force is photosynthesis. Why this is main driving is photosynthesis? Because in the process of photosynthesis only, green plants consume carbon dioxide and converts and forms carbohydrate and produce oxygen. And if this photosynthesis does not take place, we won't have oxygen, much oxygen present on Earth's surface to survive, and even there would be no oxygen cycle. Okay. Now oxygen, these oxygens are produced by plants, sunlight, and where they are used. So these oxygen is used in respiration. Decomposition, respiration means breathing. Decomposition means converting, or whenever some plants and animals die, decomposers use oxygen and convert it into carbon dioxide. Rusting, that is oxidation. When water reacts with oxygen on any metal, that would be called as rusting. Next is combustion. The burning of any substance would use or require oxygen for burning. Okay, so this is the oxygen cycle. So this ends our the gaseous nitrogen cycle, gaseous nutrient cycle. Next we have sulfur cycle, and the other last one will be phosphorus cycle. So starting with sulfur cycle, so the concepts or the important points which you need to know about sulfur is that the reservoir of sulfur is soil and sediment. It is locked in organic like coal, oil and peat, and in inorganic compound also like pyrite rock and sulfur rock. So these are very important components which are present in organic as well as in inorganic compound also. So this sulfur cycle is mostly sedimentary. That means it is not in gaseous form, whereas there are only two gaseous form like hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide. So these are the only gaseous forms which are present in atmosphere. And the sulfur dioxide is very dangerous gas for environment. It is a major cause of pollution, air pollution. So what happens is atmospheric hydrogen sulfide get oxidized into sulfur dioxide. So this is the process of formation of sulfur dioxide. So if we see the diagram over here, you can see how it is present. Organically we have SO2. SO2 is converted into S or sulfur or sulfur compounds like sulfurous or SO3, and these sulfur from where they originate. So they originate from the volcanic eruption. During volcanic eruption, lots of harmful gases are erupted in atmosphere. So out of those, sulfur is one of the important gas which is being evaporated or which has been ejected. Okay, so this is all about the sulfur and its importance. And sulfur bounds living organisms, carried back into soil, bottom ponds, lakes and seas through excretion and decomposition of materials. Next and last cycle is phosphorus cycle. So phosphorus is also again very important, and it is building block of certain parts of human and body like bones and teeth. So without phosphorus, our bones and teeth would not be easily grown, or it couldn't be built. And again, these forests are found in earth, in water, soil and sediment. So this can be found in water, soil and sediments, and it cannot be found in air, or it is not found in gaseous state as this sulfur could be found. Sulfur was found in sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide form, fine, but phosphorus is not found in gaseous form, and it is generally in liquid state at room temperature. That's why they are not found in gaseous form. And how this phosphorus cycle happens, so you can again see in the example like plants, soil phosphate plants, and it will move to animals. Animals will be consumed by man, and these plants would be also in sea, and these man or the animals would be decomposed by the residues, and again this could be biologically active residue and will convert it into soil phosphate. And in between this rock and phosphate deposit would be present, and biological activity can happen on that rock or soil, and again it's converted into soil phosphate into nature. So this is about phosphorus cycle. So I hope all the nutrient cycle is very much clear to you. If you have any doubt regarding any nutrient cycle, or if you have any doubt regarding this video, please write down in the comment box. I will try to answer your queries in next video. Thank you for watching the video. See you in next video. Till then, goodbye.